Global tech giants, including Apple and Facebook, have been ordered to show Australian authorities what they're doing to stop child abuse on their platforms or risk daily fines.
Big tech companies have been put on notice. Australia's eSafety Commissioner has issued legal documents to some of the largest tech platforms in the world. This includes Meta, Apple, Microsoft, Snap and Omegle.
Is basically shining a light on whether or not they're being responsible corporate actors and doing what they should to protect their users online.
The measures will put these companies on notice to start tackling the spread of child sexual exploitation material online. Welcome into TICKER Explores. I'm Brittany Coles. Last year, there were over 29 million reports made to the National Centre for Missing and Exploited Children. So what's being done to stop the dangers of social media, and how are these tech giants actually responding? It's my pleasure today to bring in Toby Dagg from the eSafety Commissioner's Office and Dr. Karen Sutherland from the University of Sunshine Coast. Thank you both for your time. Toby, let's get started with you. In a nutshell, why is this whole entire topic so vitally important right now?
Well, thanks for the introduction and thanks for the opportunity to speak with you. The topic of child sexual abuse and exploitation online is one of growing concern and has been for several years now. I've been working in this area for about 10 years and the problem is as serious as it's ever been. The good news is that there is a range of tools that are now being provided to regulators like ourselves and to law enforcement agencies to help stem the tide and be more effective in the fight against child sexual abuse material. But the reality is that even major platforms are being misused by those who are expressing a sexual interest in children and organising into communities globally. And we need to understand more about what those companies that run the platforms are doing to assist in the fight.
Absolutely, that understanding is key here. Now, Karen, we know these warnings come as online abuse really is on the rise, but what type of stuff are we seeing?
Well, to be honest, I don't want to even look at it, but I think sometimes what happens is some stuff can slip through, and it really relies on people reporting it to the platforms, which is I just think it's unacceptable. So I just think the way the algorithms work, the more you interact with, the more that you see. So if you're not really interacting with that material, you may not really see it, but there are pockets of individuals who have built these online communities where, the sharing of this terrible and violent information and content is just right.
Toby, have these concerns and this algorithm that Karen's mentioning there, has this been escalated during the pandemic? We know more people were staying at home, more time online. So what's being done here?
We certainly saw the reports into the eSafety Commissioner that concerned child abuse material skyrocket during the pandemic, and that was true for agencies around the world and here in Australia as well. Our partners in law enforcement experienced a similar surge. Speaking for the eSafety Commissioner, we saw a 129% increase in the number of reports through the main part of the lockdown in 2020, so about March to September, concerning child abuse material. And in that same period, we saw an increase of about 114% in relation to image-based abuse reports. And about 25% of all of those reports are made by under 18s who have experienced some form of sexual exploitation online. So yes, the pandemic absolutely triggered a veritable tsunami of reports, not just here, but around the world.
And you mentioned there, Toby, around the world. So, Dr. Karen, how are other countries responding to this rise of child sexual exploitation, specifically online when we're looking at social media?
Well, to be honest with you, looking at the news reports, I've only really seen Australia really calling these platforms on notice. So I'm unaware of it happening anywhere else, but Toby might be better to comment on that. But what I find is that just the volume of content, I just think the platforms can't keep up with it. So even on Meta platforms alone, people are posting about 4.75 billion pieces of content a day on there. And it's how can they really just stem the tide of this terrible content that's being posted?
Exactly right. I mean, who is it up to? Is it big tech responsible, but it's also the government and the eSafety Commissioner honing down in. Toby, what exactly is Australia doing? And I guess, are they confident that they will lead to real change when we're talking about a really, really big fish, big tech? It's involved in every pond around the world. So how can we actually look like change here? What does that look like?
Well, I think change looks like an improvement in our understanding, to begin with, of what platforms are doing to combat this. And platforms have produced a growing amount of reports into their policies, their procedures, their approach to trust and safety when it comes to child abuse material. And that's very welcome. The Tech Coalition, for example, has been driving a lot of that work within this part of the tech industry. But very often those reports are written and published on the platform's own terms. So what we're trying to do through the basic online safety expectations is ask very specific questions so that we understand better the mechanics of internal moderation, detection, response to this crime, and try and fill in some of the blanks that have been present for far too long, unfortunately. It's important to note that these notices don't suggest that any companies are doing the wrong thing. We just don't know enough about what they're doing right to be able to judge whether or not they're doing enough.
And what about education? How do we talk to parents and young kids and everyone else in between who is perhaps unaware of the actual dangers that we are seeing from reports from the eSafety Commissioner here?
Parents can be a very hard group to reach. We're all very busy, and often I think parents express a sense of being overwhelmed by the technology and get a feeling for their children's use of technology that leaves them convinced that children have this almost innate capacity to interact with technology that they don't have. But none of that's actually true. Parents are, and carers can be, the first line of defence to ensure that their children are safe online. And so the advice that we often provide parents, which can be found at esafety.gov.au, is to, number one, learn what you're doing online, which apps they're using, what technologies they're using, get a sense of who their friends are online and who their followers are. And depending on the age of the child, make sure that those uses of technology, some time on the iPad, for example, time on mum or dad's phone, is performed in public areas of the house so that some eye can be kept on what's happening. Now, of course, that tapers off the child gets appropriately. And at that point, establishing a trust based on open communication is really essential so that your team knows that if something goes wrong, they can tell you and ensure that your support is provided without judgment or without rushing to conclusions. We've seen some really tragic cases overseas where young men in particular have been the victim of sexual extortion online. And rather than walking down the corridor to mum and dad's bedroom, knocking on the door saying, "I need help," they felt the only way out is by taking their own lives. We want to avoid that at all costs. And I'm not suggesting for a second that social media use produces a higher risk of suicide, but it just highlights the critical need for us to establish as parents those trusted lines of communication that are offered without judgment or conclusion as to what's happened, and really are offered just to help resolve the issue, because there is no one better placed to do that than parents and carers.
Absolutely, that's the first line of response there at home. But Karen, what about responsibility for big tech? I mean, have they changed their tune when it comes to better managing online materials too?
I think they're trying, but I honestly think they're bolted. I don't think that they even know what to do to stem this tide. And I mean, maybe that's why they've been quiet and not forthcoming with their policies and processes around this issue, because maybe they just don't know. Maybe they really they are at a loss as well. So I know that I think Facebook is trying to increase its moderation, but then I don't know if you've ever seen, there's been a documentary around this is what the actual human moderators at Facebook have to face as well by doing that. So it's important that there is that line where people decide what should be able to be accessed on social media and not. But then there are so many other issues as well at play. So I just think it comes back to that volume of information and not having the right resources and operational processes in place to be able to deal with it appropriately.
And Toby, what if they don't comply? What's really the next step moving forward here?
So if the companies who are the subject of the notices don't respond, then they may be subject to daily penalties of up to $555,000. So it's a significant sum that compounds obviously over time, and most importantly, attracts a real reputational risk for those companies too. So we expect those companies to comply with the notices, and we'll judge the information that's provided to us and consider what options are open to us at that point. But really what we want to ensure is done through this process is that we shine a light on the company's practices and policies, procedures, technologies, and response to this extraordinarily difficult challenge, one that challenges all of us on a deeply personal, humane, moral level, and be satisfied that the companies are doing enough.
Absolutely. I mean, these companies are really facing massive fines if they do not comply, and it's a massive issue at large. So Toby and Dr. Karen, we do appreciate your time today and for bringing this issue to light. It's not spoken about enough, and we appreciate everything that you're doing to hone down on big tech as well. Thanks for your time today, and we'll catch up soon.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
More Ticker News is available on our website, tickernews.co, for more in-depth coverage too.